Eddie.
Good evening here, Kyle.
Hey, how are
Guess what time?
pardon me?
Guess what time here in the US?
It is 11 a.m. No, 11 p.m.
11 p.m.
Is it right? Is that right?
Right, yeah, 11 p.m.
Wow.
Mhm.
Thank you for
No
saying it so right.
problem. Yeah, I'm so excited to talk with you.
Oh, the excitement's mine. Is it
Yeah.
past your bedtime?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Is it past your bedtime? It's 11
Um,
p.m.
basically, I still got awake. Yeah, this time.
Excellent.
Yeah. I'm kind of a short sleeper.
Are you?
1 or 2 a.m. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. Nice. So yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of people already joined. Yeah, I appreciate.
Yeah. Yes, I do too. Thank you so much,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
everyone.
Yep.
Mm.
アミさん、幸子さん、ゼリさん、高崎さん、吉田さん、エミリーさん、山田さん、英語さん、さやかさん、わお、ジュリさん、OK。
So many. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you all.
Shall we start?
Yes, absolutely. I'm ready.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, thank you for your time. As I know you're busy, including Kyle to everyone. And also, thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to talk about ourselves, self-introduction, and also we're going to talk about how to learn, how to improve English. And also, I just want to a little bit dig into the Kyle's background. So, any agenda, any topics, Kyle?
Well, I'm just going to follow your lead and see where you take me, and I will
Okay.
do the best I can.
Okay, okay. No, you are main person today, so I'm just
Well,
yeah.
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. Okay. Let's start with our self-introduction.
Sure.
Let me start first.
Okay.
I'm Eddie, and I was born and raised in Japan, and I work for a Japanese company, and I've been living here in the U.S. for about 1.5 years. Actually, this is my second transfer. My first transfer was from 2013 to 2019. And then I came back to Japan, and then my supervisor asked me, "You have to go back in the U.S. All of a sudden, no, or out of the blue." That's what I want to use.
Out of the
Uh,
blue.
then, so I'm here myself. My family is in Japan, so actually, I'm so missing family, but to take care of my family. So yeah, it can be helped. And also, my mission is to enhance our solution business. That's what I'm committed to. And also, uh, yeah, since I've been living here myself, I'm improving my cooking skill.
Oh, your wife will be happy.
Yeah. I believe so. And also, I just want to explain a little bit about my X account. My X account is based on basically posting English idiom and phrase and words which native speakers use a lot and very often. The reason why I share this kind of uh, things is because what I realized here in the US is native speaker likes metaphor and cliche, and which we never learned in Japan. That's why so I want to share this like a word and the idiom and the phrases. Uh, that's very kind of impactful to native speakers when we talk with native speakers. That's why I highly recommend you guys to learn native words, native phrase, if you will. That's very, I think, powerful in terms of communicate with native speakers. That's kind of my like a unique post and information in my post. Okay, I'm gonna hand over to you, Kyle. Go ahead.
Thank you, thank you. And just to tie in back to something that you said, Eddie, you're not a teacher. You're just genuinely interested in evangelizing parts of the English language, particularly expressions and idioms and commonly used phrases in English. And I think that's amazing. You work full time for a company
Yeah.
that has transferred you to America.
Mhm.
And I've noticed that you dedicate a lot of time online supporting the English language, and I find that amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Mhm.
For myself, I was born in America, specifically Texas. Yeehaw!
Mhm.
And I grew up on the southern border of Texas near the ocean, and then I've lived in various locations around Texas, including Dallas, Houston, Corpus Christi, and San Antonio. I graduated high school in San Antonio, and from there I moved on. I went into the service, and which brought me to Japan. And it wasn't my intention to come to Japan, but because I joined the service, that's where they sent me. And once I got here, I was here for a minimum of 1 year. And while I was here, I thought, well, what a waste it would be just to come here and spend all my time on the base. So I would go to the bookstore every day and buy books and try to study the language. And I continued to stay here. I extended my time for up to 4 years. And then, so I really loved it. And I went back home and I began my career outside of the service. And I became a software developer, which was fun. It was great. And then after that, I ended up being a instructor where I traveled around to different companies around America to teach software development skills and to upgrade current software developers' skills. I've taught at NASA, and I've taught at other major technology companies. And then at some point in the time, there was a big crash in the economy, and it affected a lot of people, maybe even worldwide, but particularly in America. And eventually, even my job suffered a layoff. And well, over a period of a year or two, I had the option to come back to Japan, which I sometimes tell people that I didn't go back. I came back home. It really felt like home here. The first time I used to actually miss being in Japan. Many of you who have lived somewhere else probably understand that feeling. So before I came back here, though, I was already accustomed to being in the teaching field, and I already knew that I wanted to teach when I came back to Japan. And that's what I do now. I teach English for myself out of my home. I've got about, depending on the time of year, I've had anywhere between 40 and 60 students. I teach at a kindergarten once a week, and then I've got ages 5 to 78 that come to my home to learn. And I have probably covered everything.
Okay, thank you for the explanation, and that's interesting. So you experienced a lot. So I have a couple of questions for you. First question is, why do you like Japan?
I wish I had really beautiful answers, but just out of all honesty, the main attraction is the people.
people.
The people are the level of peace here, even if people don't necessarily agree about everything, they're peaceful about it. I'm able to walk across the street to the store and leave my door unlocked. Maybe not the best idea all the time, but I'm not usually worried about it. I can trust that my wife can walk home from the train station at night if the need ever be, and I'm not, worried that, anything is going to happen to her. If anything, probably someone would help her. Of course, I don't live in a big city like Tokyo or something like that. I live in a bit of more rural area, but still, the first time I lived in Japan, and this time as well, I would have to say that overall, it's just the peace, as you say in Japanese, heiwa, of Japan is just forefront. And then, of course, on top of that, because I'm not Japanese, all of the extra things, all of the extra cultural things that I get to experience is always a plus as well. The food, the activities. I live in an area where onsens are very, quite popular in this area. So, that's a bonus to being able to live here as a non-native Japanese person.
I see. Okay. So sounds like you like onsen.
I do. Yeah, I do now. In the very beginning, of course.
Yeah, in my experience, most of the American people don't like onsen. In my experience, if I ask my coworkers when we go to Japan, let's go to onsen, they decline. They don't like a base together with someone. Like they want to use like a shower only.
Yeah.
Even they like a nabe, right? Pot, right? Hot pot. They don't want to share. Yeah, even in the US, we have a shabu shabu, but we have a shabu shabu individually, not like.
Right. Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised. Yeah, with you liking, onsen.
It's interesting, if I may comment on that. That's another part of Japan. When you talked about the way people eat together, that was another thing that really attracted me. Now, of course, the reference point that I had available to me was Okinawa, but still, I think it's generally the same across the country. And that is when people go to, let's say, maybe izakaya or something like that. People order food and they put it in the middle, and everybody just kind of takes a little bit from the middle and puts it on their little plate and eats. Or like you said, shabu shabu. People, it's almost like the food is a community design as opposed to an individual design. And so you're able to really read into culture when you look at how people eat. It tells you a lot about what kind of people they are. And when I go back to America, it's like everybody's looking at the menu, getting their own plate and served in front of them. It's a reminder of, the difference. And I really like eating with, other Japanese in the settings that you described.
So what is your most challenging thing for you to settle down in Japan's culture or something like that?
Well, in the beginning, I was kind of in a halfway house because I was in the military and I was on a base. So I always had that comfort zone. So it wasn't extraordinarily intense, but I'll just kind of tell you my experience getting out of the airport. I was 19 years old. That's a baby. And I was in the Marine Corps, by the way, just for reference point. And I left the airport, and many of us got on a bus to take us to our base. And just looking around at the city, it was like, wow, it's just like the movies. Beyond what I expected. The bus is on the left side of the road, and it just amazed, just all the big buildings and the city lights, and I was just floored in awe with just the difference. I really felt like I left like my country. And then there was a time or two where I left the base after not having been there very long, and I walked about and I just got lost. I was probably not more than 500 meters away, but I had no idea where I was at. I couldn't speak any Japanese, and I was trying to get people to help me get back to the base. And they were so helpful. They were pulling out phone books, and I had no idea how to read it. And they were like, this, and it was all in Japanese. And this is 30 years ago. So that's back when you still had the telephone book. Anyway, the people were so kind. But as far as difficulties, let's talk about food. I think everybody is probably familiar with most foreigners not being able to eat natto.
Natto.
Yeah. And that was past tense. That was my Achilles heel of food. I went to the convenience store one time for lunch, and I saw a package. It looked like a little like a sushi bento or something like that. And I couldn't see into the package quite clearly. It was a temaki, and I thought it was tuna on the inside. I didn't look close enough. And I came back, and I was working at a nursery, and I was in a little room, and I took a bite into it, not knowing what I ate, and I thought it was spoiled tuna fish, and I ran to the bathroom, and I spit it in the sink, and everybody was laughing at me after they heard that I was eating, natto maki. So natto is probably difficult for most people to get used to, but now I love natto.
Okay. How did you change your preference?
Well, I was teaching a lesson here, and there were ladies in the room. I was trying to say, I was living single at the time. I'm married now, but this is several years ago. And I said, I need to eat healthier. I'm single. I want to try natto because everybody's eating it, but I can't. I don't like it. And one lady said, "Do you like kimchi?" And I said, "Yeah, I love kimchi." She goes, "Just mix it with kimchi." And I tried that, and then I didn't have any more kimchi, so I tried other things, and eventually I could eat it plain. So her advice was perfect, and now I have no problem eating it. I like it, in fact.
I see.
Do you eat natto?
Finally, you get over eating natto.
Yes. How about you? Do you eat natto?
I like it, actually nattos, and also maybe I eat nattos once a month at least.
Once a month. Okay. Yeah. Okay. How do you? I'm curious. In America, before I came here, I lived in Dallas, and we had to drive a little ways away to go there, but there were some Asian stores.
That's
the same there. Okay.
Yeah. I go to the Asian supermarket.
Okay.
So there's like a natto, a lot of nattos in like a frozen area. I bought a lot. I put my fridge. Then sometimes I eat. I basically I use just not only with kimchi. I just really I'm kind of a natto person. So anything, just natto only is fine.
Natto's only fine. Yeah.
No natto sauce, just natto is okay.
And just natto. Just straight raw. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, with white rice. Yeah, of course. Okay. So, what else? So, what is most favorite culture in Japan when you live in Japan? So, besides onsen.
Okay. Oh, goodness. I've been here so long that I'm so accustomed to most things now. But let me think.
Let me change.
Go ahead.
Is you're missing? So because you have been living in Japan, so sometimes you want to meet, you feel like something like U.S. culture, U.S. food, right? So what are you missing? US something.
Okay, maybe because I live in a smaller, more rural area, this may be more true. But maybe in the cities where I lived before, there was maybe a bigger variety of variety. That sounds kind of a strange way to say it, but there was a variety of variety.
Mm.
So the restaurants, for example, were different styles. Maybe you go into a restaurant where everyone is doing the servers are in cosplay mode and they come to you as a queen or something. One thing we had in Dallas, we had a couple of movie theaters that were restaurant style, and you would sit down at like a little restaurant table, and you could order beer, you could order a pitcher of beer, nachos or whatever, anything you wanted, and just watch a movie like a regular movie theater. And that was the coolest thing, I thought. But I don't really want to compare Japan to that, but I do miss some of those varieties of things to do.
Okay.
But yeah, but other than that, Japan has well made up for in other areas. So I'm perfectly satisfied. Let me say it this way: I would not move back to America just to gain those items.
Yeah, that's very appreciated. Yeah, thank you. On behalf of Japan, happy to hear that. Yeah. Please don't go back to the US. Yeah.
Okay.
Forever.
Forever. Okay, I won't.
Okay, I see. Okay. By the way, how long have you been working as an English teacher?
Well, I started at some other companies, but I've been working for myself now for, I don't know, 8 or 9 years. And then since I came here, I've been teaching English this time around. I've lived in Japan twice for a total of, I calculated the other day, over 20 years, about 23 or I forget. But so this time around, it's like 16 or 17 years. And I've been teaching English pretty much the whole time. The first 25% maybe for other companies, and the rest has been for myself.
I see. Okay. So I'm curious about how did you learn Japanese? So you just mentioned a little bit, right? So you have the book, maybe you learn Japanese too, but I think Japanese is probably helpful for us. How to learn English. So, can you explain how did you how you overcome how you master Japanese? You don't need to speak Japanese here in the space. This is
I'll keep it English only, but so, yeah. Well, first of all, I appreciate you putting the word master Japanese on the beginning there, but let's make it clear to everyone in the room: I have not mastered Japanese by any stretch of the imagination. But I do speak well enough that I can communicate in most needs, and everybody understands what I'm trying to communicate. How I got started and how I learned was I was in the military. I was living on a base in Okinawa, and I just found it a waste to stay on the base and not do anything with the community. And I thought, what an opportunity to learn Japanese. So I went to the store and I bought a book. And every payday, which was about every 2 weeks, I spent probably half of my money on books and the other half on beer, and then I had nothing left over. So when I ran out, so basically, I didn't have time to do anything except study, and we didn't make a lot of money to begin with, so there wasn't a lot of beer buying. So I prioritized my money on buying books, and I would buy just a textbook, and I would buy a a kanji dictionary, and just whatever I could to kind of give myself a well-rounded exposure to the language. And then I had this one book. It was a blue book, and every morning when I woke up, it was like a little child who had their stuffed animal next to him. I was a grown man in the United States Marine Corps, and I had my little blue book with me in bed with me that I woke up with, and I went to bed with at night. So I'm sure it looked quite strange, but I was dedicated to that blue book, and I took it to lunch with me. I took it everywhere. And we walked to work, so everybody always saw me walking to work with that blue book. And so morning, afternoon, and night, I had that book with me. And then in the evening after dinner, I would go put on my jogging wear, and I would go off the base, and I would run. I would just jog, and I wasn't really jogging for exercise. I got plenty of that on a daily basis inside the camp. But I would go off base just pretending to be jogging so that I could meet people randomly, and I would say, "Sumimasen, ima nanji desu ka?" And they would tell me the time of day. And I didn't care what time it was. I just wanted an opportunity to practice something. And I would, and like 1 minute later, I already knew what time it was, but 1 minute later, I would jog to the next person and I would repeat the exact same thing. I would do that 10, 20 times a night until I couldn't meet anybody else. And then I would get tired and go back. And so I would, start there. And then at work, I also had an opportunity to speak to the local people who worked on the base, and I would do my best to always speak to them. And then one day, I was jogging down the road, and I met a man. I asked him, "What time is it?" And he actually began to talk to me, and I understood what he said. He was telling me about his daughter and his family, and I was like everybody gets the first time you begin to have that real conversation, like you rode a bike for the first time. That's how I felt. And he invited me into his home right then. He said, "Come on in my home, meet my family, have dinner with us." I thought, wow, that is just amazing. And I went in, and his family were all staring at me, and I was staring at them. I had no more left in me to communicate. I used it all outside. But by asking what time it was. But I understood what he was saying. And anyway, that really motivated me to even keep going. When you can have that first conversation, little, small, but meaningful. And I just kept going. That's how I got started.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is your most experienced things when you talk with people in Japan, in Japanese? For example, so in my case, when I talk with American people, I was impressed. I was touched. Is sometimes it's very difficult to explain my mind to receivers. In this case, so in the beginning, I cannot speak what I am thinking because lack of my vocabulary or idiom or something like that. But now I accustomed to talking with American people in English. Then even like a difficult discussion or tough negotiation, I learned to do that now. Then, yeah, if they understand what I am saying, I'm so like excited. Oh, I did, right? But it's like a clear game, right? It's kind of challenging. And I this challenge. Then so I try more difficult things, and then so if I pass this difficult thing, I clear, and then so like I proud of myself. Right, that's my feeling when I talk with people in English. So how about you? Same feeling or different? Oh, hello? Hello, Kai. Can you hear me? Hello, Kai.
About that.
No problem. Yeah.
Yes, you asked me if that feeling of like
So,
when you
so the feeling is same as my feeling when I speak people in Japanese.
yes, like those difficult times when you're in your case you have maybe business negotiations and you're trying to uh, exchange really important information, not just simple things like going to the post office, but things that are really meaningful.
Mm.
I've had that experience, like when I go to the doctor, and you want to make sure that the doctor understands what your problem is, and you don't want him to treat you for cancer if you have something that
Mm.
like a cold or something. um, but yes, being able to go into situations that is a little bit beyond the normal everyday situation
Mm.
is rewarding. It's rewarding to be able to communicate it in any other language, but for me, of course, with Japanese, the same as you with English. Yes,
Mm.
so the feeling is mutual. The feeling is the
I,
same.
so to recap about what you're saying is so to learn Japanese, first thing
Hmm.
you had to do was reading like a blue book.
Yeah,
Probably it's like a Japanese like a grammar textbook.
yeah, just a typical beginner textbook
Yeah, typical
for
beginner.
me.
So once you establish like a foundation in Japanese, so you move to the like a real
Yeah,
conversation. So by talking Japanese,
yes,
yeah, even you pretend to jogging, pretend
yes,
you want to just want to talk with Japanese in Japanese, right? Yeah, that's what
yes.
actually I did as well. Yeah. So
I would say that
uh,
if I were to go beyond and just kind of explain,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, there are other ingredients that are important that I had that it feels strange to say it this way, but here, even with my students, I use the word hunger a
Mm-hmm.
lot, and that means that you really you really have to have a true hunger for what you want to excel at. If you just kind of want it, you're only kind of gonna get it. Um, you know, so I really wanted to learn Japanese. I mean, for like I said, morning, evening, night, people told me I was speaking Japanese in my sleep.
Sorry,
And
what motivated you to learn Japanese? For example, did you like Japanese anime or Japanese like a historical culture? What exactly motivated you to learn Japanese?
that's a great question because I don't know. At that at that time, I think it was just the foreignness to me, and it was like a wasted opportunity if I had the chance to come all the way here. This is before the internet. This
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
um, this is there was no anime, there was no manga. As a matter of fact, I remember the very first cell phones.
mm-hmm,
They were in Japan,
mm-hmm,
and um, and I didn't have one. I remember that too. And so only the cool people had one.
mm-hmm,
So I, so basically, I didn't have anything before coming here that motivated that feeling. I
mm-hmm.
just thought it would just be such a waste to
Okay.
because there were a lot of people on the base that would come here for 1 year
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and they would stay on the base every day,
Mm-hmm,
and they would go back home, and I just imagine the conversations that people would say, wow, how was Japan?
mm-hmm,
And the only thing they could talk about would be the color of the sky because they didn't know. They
uh-huh.
had no clue. And I did not want to be that person.
Mm-hmm,
And also, I guess just because there were people out there that I would talk to, and they would teach me one little word here and one little word there. And so I really wanted to learn to communicate. And also in high school, I took French. So I wasn't great at French, but I already knew what it felt like to learn a language. So I was willing to give it my best. But yeah, the real, you need to have a drive to do something, and whatever that is, you might not know why it is. It's good if you do know why, but if you don't know why, but you just know, I really want to do that, that's an important part of accomplishing something.
Okay. So you don't want to spend a waste of time. That's the kind of your motivation. Then so that's it, like a hunger.
Yes.
Okay. I see. Okay. Let's move on to the how to learn English. So you are excellent and a long experience English teacher. So from your point of view, what is Japanese missing in terms of learning English, and also what is your advice for us to improve or enhance our English? Of course, hungry. Be hungry is
that's definitely part of it. But I want everybody to know that I really hesitate talking to such a large group about this because
no, this is
no, I know, I understand, but I'm saying sometimes you have to push the wrong buttons to say what you need to say, and so I want to make sure that I say it with empathy and sympathy, and but I think what I see a lot of times is that people focus on the wrong things.
Yeah, I think so. Because so my methodology of learning English is totally different before that I came here in the US. So totally different. That's why probably So
I'll give you an example.
Good in Japan, but that is not enough, right?
As an example to help you see where my thinking is going here, I love it when people want to learn more and more and more. I really do, but there's probably several things we're going to talk about during this time. But let me start with, I have a little boy, and he's a go-getter. He wants to learn a lot. He's he's the type of boy, he doesn't want to lose. He wants to be better than everybody else. And he comes here by himself. But so as he would learn one set of cards, I have a lot of cards. I don't use books here at my school. I have just a lot of cards at different levels. And yeah, I don't use books.
So by yourself, this card?
Well, I don't use textbooks. I don't say, bring your book and open up to page 25 and read. I don't use any of that. I do have, for example, my dentist happens to be my student, and she uses a book, but it's not a textbook. It's actually just a regular book. I'll talk about it later, but with her, we just use reading as an exercise to learn language. Anyway, I had this little boy, and his mom would be in the room with him sometimes in the very, very beginning because he was so small. He was kindergarten age. And then as he got older, he was able to, not have her around. But he kept pointing to the other cards. He wanted, if he knew that the other cards were for adults, he would cry if I wouldn't use those with him. He wanted to climb the ranks. Now, he had the hunger that I was looking for as a teacher. But part of the problem is the hunger has to be tamed. You have to be willing to stay in your lane and he wanted to keep going and going and going. Well, for a child and for him, it kind of works out maybe, but the problem is with Japan being such a testing society, what rank are you? Are you a Gokyu, Yonkyu?
Okay.
That people only want to keep pushing for these new tests, and they never really learn how to speak. And as I tell a lot of my students, I'm like, first of all, you need to focus on using what you have. Eat what's on your plate right now. Don't worry about over there, because if you can't use this, don't worry about that. And when I speak Japanese, for example, I have a level of fluency that maybe they think that I'm a Nikyu or Ikkyu, but actually I tell them I'm only speaking at about a Yonkyu, maybe Sankyu level. I'm not speaking at a really advanced level. I'm just using this basis of language. And I said, just think about the words that I'm using. You'll see that I'm not speaking at some advanced level. But people think that if they don't learn all the difficult, 25-letter words, that they haven't proven themselves. And I've met many people who have got a 900 score on their TOEIC exam, and they can't hold a conversation at all. So what has that proven? It's proven that they're focusing on the wrong things. They need to get in the grinder and speak at their level. Don't try, but go outside of your level a little bit, but not so much. Master, eat what's on your plate. That's point number one. What would be number two? I would say one thing that I focus on a lot is pronunciation. When we're babies, when we're born, we have like 200 to 300 different pronunciations that our mouth is flexible enough to create. And then after about 6 months, we begin to become constrained and limited to our mother tongue, to what's in the household. And unfortunately, in Japan, there's a even smaller. So America may have 60 to 70 sounds, and Japan may have 40 to 50 sounds. And therefore, it requires a little bit extra effort to make those muscles flexible to make more sounds. But I focus on my students, especially at a young age, is to get those sound muscles going, pronouncing the R correctly and the L correctly, and things like that. So when they do speak, the words are coming out the way they want them to come out. I could go on all day about little details. What kind of thing do you have in mind that maybe I should address?
Well,
For example, is there something that you have sensed that you're wondering about?
Okay. I think, let me address the first, your comment, eat on your plate. In this case, I think a most important thing for us to improve our English, especially speaking, is we should speak loud.
Yes.
Imagination is not practice for speaking.
Oh, thank you.
So when it comes to TOEIC and some other tests, basically writing and reading, as opposed to speaking.
Yes.
But speaking is we need to train our muscle.
Yes.
Right. That's totally different. Even we got a lot of input, but without practice speaking, we cannot speak at all. So I think you mentioned it on your plate is maybe we should talk even just a word we understand.
Yes.
Right. Otherwise, even we got a lot. The more, how can I say? Just because gaining more input doesn't mean speaking more, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So use the small amount of grammar that you know, learn it well, be able to use it reflexively. Use the vocabulary you have to be able to integrate into multiple sentence patterns, but within your level, and get really comfortable with that, and then gradually expand out. If you're a what you're wanting to build muscle on your body, and you have to lift heavy weights to do that, but you're only 100 pounds, you're not going to go start bench pressing 500 pounds. You have to do what's at your level plus a little bit more to gain strength. So, and if
I
you
will give you one tips. I'm not sure you agree with or not, because you always also learn Japanese. So so when I train my speaking, what I did is I how can I say, analyzed what I use, what word do we use in a daily life in speaking in Japanese. So, 確認する、理解する、it's a very common word in Japan. So probably we should use same words even in English. That's why so we learn 確認する、理解する. I learned a lot fast. Then so I have a discussion with our coworkers. Of course, sometimes we say, oh, 確認します。後で連絡し、わかり、理解しました。Very common words. Then so since I learned this kind of word, not only understand, for example, in the case of 理解する, not understand, but also figure out, find out. So it's a little bit different situation. Even with Japanese is one word. We use make sure, sometimes check, right? Visit. So English is a totally kind of a more various versus Japanese. That's why so what I did is I focus on when I talk with people Japanese, I checked my how can I say, habit of words. Oh, I 確認する、理解する many times. I have to learn as well. Then so my English is getting more fluent. That so how did you learn Japanese? So as you mentioned, did you check just reading, use a word book, or based on the conversation you learned this is a common Japanese word? Then so how did you learn Japanese idiom and the word?
Well, in the beginning, like everybody has to do in the very beginning, if you're not a native speaker, then you have to start off with some minimal amount of phrases, like you're saying, and then maybe find some common phrases that are important in common language, like checking someone's understanding, or I would say, while you were talking about that, it made me think of something that I've thought about before, and that is, oftentimes it's possible for students of any language, for that matter, it happens with Americans too, is to ask the wrong question. The wrong question is, how do you say X in Japanese, or how do you say Y in English? And sometimes that can be the wrong question, because now you're trying to take your own experience and apply it to another experience. If I were to stretch the example way out of bounds, and I say, how do you say Volkswagen? How do you say Tex-Mex in Japanese? And you would say, well, what is Tex-Mex? And I would say, well, that's food that's made in Texas, but it's actually Mexican food, but it's Texas style. How do you say that in Japanese? And you would say, well, we don't. And I would say, well, why? And you'd say, well, that's not our culture. And I would say, that's right. As a teacher, if there are very simple things. If you say, how do you say dog in Japanese? And the other person says, well, inu. Well, that's very simple because it's a one-to-one translation. You both have dogs. But when it comes to more, see, language, to me, the way I explain it to some people, language is a mirror of your culture.
Mm.
As you live life in a country, you're going to represent your culture, your thinking style in your language. For example, Japanese has a higher emphasis on societal order. You have onisan and onesan. Well, these are age orders, but we don't have that. And everybody in my students group, they want to say, well, how they want to always say my older sister, my older brother, and I say, look, stop, just say my sister, my brother. But they say, but they're older than me. I know, but nobody cares. Nobody cares. Just say my sister or my brother. But they have that strong need to take their own culture and put it into the other one. And the same happens in the reverse side. English is a very numerical ordered system. If you don't tell me how many, if you don't say plural or singular,
that's a very one of the difficult things for us.
Yeah. And so, but when we come into Japanese and try to speak and we say, well, like we'll put tachi on the end of everything, like those osara tachi. And it probably sounds so, strange to people. But the point is if I were to say, how do you say those plates over there? Another one is, how do you say I love you in Japanese? Oh my goodness, don't even take that conversation. Some of you who are in my in my recent group, we talked about love. But my point is, if I say in English, I love you, well, that's a very common expression. Well, people in America say, well, how do I say I love you in Japanese? I say, well, the truth is you don't. You get over it, and and there's a different cultural way of thinking about that. I mean, you do, but not in the way that you would do it from a dictionary. So going back to the beginning, first, it's the asking the right questions or avoiding the wrong questions. The way I would tell people is say, look, pay attention to the conversation in front of you, learn what they're saying, take the words that they're saying, and just understand it in that culture. Don't try to bring your own culture into that culture. Just stop, listen, take notes, mental notes, and try to reuse what they are saying. And it's the same way. When you improve your English, you're learning a lot from conversation, and you begin to copy that just like a child would with their parents. And so how did I do it? The same way. Over time, I just start copying what people are saying. Sometimes bad things, maybe. I don't know. Sometimes I make mistakes, but people will correct me in the process. And then slowly I begin to build a better, well-rounded ability. And then I can have room to fit more difficult words in. Anyway, so maybe focus less on how do I say something from my language in your language. Stop focusing on that and focus more on just learning the other language.
I see. Okay, so let me ask you like a kind of different view.
Okay.
So that's a kind of a conceptual.
Conceptual, yeah.
Yeah. So let's dig into more like a specific.
Good.
So so when you teach students English conversation, speaking or listening, how do you teach them? For example, what is the most important thing? What is the attention you are paying? So like a speed or repetition, try again, or don't think, feel. Or for example, so what are the most important things?
Everything you just said was beautiful. You can work with me. Speed, repetition. There was something else you said there in the beginning. So first of all of my students, regardless of age, I don't prepare very much that targets age. That, I mean, a little bit, yes. But for example, if I get a brand new student and maybe they're 40 years old, I have a deck of ABC cards on my table at all times, and I make them learn the ABCs to get the pronunciation. So if I say, if they're going to say ABC, many times they will already have these bad habits of going A, B, C, she, D, E, F, 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 and I'm like, okay, we have to correct that first. If we don't start there, if you can't say the letters appropriately, but it can be hard for adults because they feel embarrassed. I'm looking at, I already learned the ABCs. Well, maybe you only learned the order. You didn't really learn the pronunciation. And because English is a kind of a phonetic language, we need to get those well under our belt before we move on. So working with kids is easier because they don't care. Adults sometimes, but anyway, they still have to do it and they will get through it faster, but I will make them pronounce the letters appropriately. So it's not as A, B, C, D. And I say, you see how there's an E at the end? And the numbers as well. Most people don't realize it, but many numbers in the English language have a very common pronunciation pattern in the middle. And if you're just thinking about it, this 1 through 10, one of the most odd sounding sounds is in a lot of those, and that's the V sound. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We have V in there, V, but sometimes if we overlook that, and we can accidentally say B, 11, 7. So I want to eliminate all of those little things in the small words and get that right up front. And then the next thing is a lot of drills. I have drills that students will use to help internalize verb tenses. And that focuses on correctness and speed. The reason for speed, may I go down that path?
No. Yeah. Please continue. Yeah.
The reason for speed, people often probably think, why do I have to speak so fast? In conversation, you don't. You don't need to speak fast in conversation because you have already internalized the grammar structures that you need to use, and you freely use those. But when you're learning a new language, one of the things that you want to stop doing is thinking. Thinking is one of the worst things a person can do when they're trying to learn to internalize something. Sometimes I refer to it as owning something. When you own something, that means that you have made it your own. You can use it automatically like a samurai uses a sword. He knows how to put it back in his sheath. He knows how to take it out in a moment's notice. He is so well adapted. He doesn't think about it. He doesn't say, do I use my right hand or my left hand? He just automatically grabs it and hurts you. Language is the same. You have to be quick and practice quick. So, like, just to give you a quick example, if I may, of the drills that I use here, there's 5 patterns that are used 3 different ways. So there's like 15 patterns, and it goes something like, I am speaking English now. I speak English every day. I was speaking English yesterday. I spoke English yesterday. I'm going to speak English tomorrow. Now that's the beginning of it, but from a young age all the way to adults, that's one of the drills that they have to learn. And there's 15 patterns across 8 different pronouns. And when they can begin to see the simplicity of these and understand that once you understand these 15 patterns times 8 pronouns, all you have to do is just start replacing words. That's it. Just replace words. So in the beginning, I used to use the word dancing. I am dancing now. I dance every day. I was dancing. You can almost hear the similarity between what I said a moment ago and what I said now. All I did was change a word. I am eating now. I eat every day. I was eating yesterday. I ate yesterday. I'm going to eat tomorrow. So the students, what they want to do is be able to just internalize those patterns. And then when they come to speak, all they have to do is replace a word. That's it. That's my goal. So they don't think about the grammar. They just use it. And this is a basic level, basic to intermediate level that I teach. And then after that, we can add on more advanced patterns as they get more advanced. Mm-hmm. So the speed is to prevent or block thinking, because thinking interferes with the neurological pathways of people just internalizing something. Mm-hmm. Let me give you another example. And I'm always full of metaphors. It might get tiring, but I lived kind of in the country. Mm-hmm. And in the country, we have railroad tracks. Mm-hmm. And in these railroad tracks, there's like two ties that, that travel down the, down the railroad. And me and my cousin, we would go out there on the railroad tracks and just walk along it. That's fun. You get up on it and you walk because you want to balance. And balance is the fun part. Well, the question that someone presented one time is, if you're ever walking along railroad tracks, now in Japan, you're probably not familiar with that, but in redneck country, Texas and Louisiana, you can do that. It's okay. Mm-hmm. And the question was proposed.
Sometimes in like a TOEIC test.
TOEIC. Yeah. Like a TOEIC test.
Maybe, many people know about what you're saying.
Which one? Redneck? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Maybe I'm talking too fast too. So when I get excited, I tend to talk faster. I need to slow down. So imagine you're walking along the railroad ties, and someone proposed a question one time. If you want to walk further without falling, which is better, to look down at your feet and keep walking, or to look out in the distance and continue walking? And that is the question. And it's an interesting question because it reflects how we do other things as well. The answer to the question is to look out, beyond, out, down the way. And why? Because when you look at your feet, that means you're thinking about the grammar. You're looking at all the little bitty details and steps. And now you can't create fluency because you're stumbling. You can't walk as fast if you're looking at your feet. But if you look down the railroad track a little ways, you can walk faster and smoother. And that's what I want to get my students to do. I want them to stop thinking. I want them to stop looking at their feet and just start walking out a little ways, looking down the road.
Mm. So you are saying looking at the feet is thinking, right?
Is thinking, yes.
Yeah. We don't do that. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, that's what I explained in the US. So, if I think how to say in English, they don't want to wait for me. Like, conversation never stops. So, I have to say something. And so then the more I speak with people, the more like phrase it in stock. Then the more I can speak more quickly. Mm-hmm. That I think even I don't think how to create like a grammar or S or this is not S. I never think about that now. Mm-hmm. Of course, then I was thinking, but during my thinking, discussion and then conversation is moving forward. So then I can catch up in that. Right. So I don't need to think about. Then so what I come up with, just say. So this thing is very important. I think your training is very helpful. In heading in the right direction. Yep.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah. In my experience, yeah, that's totally correct. Yeah. Mhm. Many Japanese people say so. Without like a perfect grammar, uh, American people cannot understand, but that is not true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not completely true. There, um, in fact, in fact,
Mhm.
um, if I use Japanese as an example,
Mhm.
most elementary children, uh, Japanese children,
Mhm.
at an elementary level, their grammar is far better than my grammar, perhaps, which means that I don't need to learn advanced high school and college grammar
Mhm.
to communicate. If I can communicate at an elementary level,
Mhm.
I'm doing wonderful, probably. I
Mhm.
just need to adapt more vocabulary, but the grammar is pretty good already at an elementary level. So,
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. You getting way too bogged down in grammar
Mhm.
can it really is. It's not helpful
Mhm.
unless you're trying to become a book editor or a you know an author or something like that. Then maybe,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, of course, in writing, in business, grammar is very important. But when it comes to speaking, since I'm not like I'm Japanese, right?
hmm
So you are not native in Japanese, right? So
hmm
yeah,
One thing we have not discussed though that I do believe is a I'm not going to say crucial, but I will say very effective
mm,
tool for learning
mm.
a language is reading. And I mean reading.
Yeah,
No,
I'm gonna what I'm about
okay,
to ask you.
okay. Well, I'll wait for that.
Please go ahead. So what do
Okay.
you think read is important? Yeah, that's my question. Yeah.
Yes, reading. I told you that I have one lady, a student here, and basically our lesson is just reading. That's all we do. She reads a chapter or so during the week, and then when she comes back here, we read it together. We confirm that she understands, the flow of what happened in the story, and we repeat, and then we will practice pronunciation together. Like I will read it, and then she will read after me. So we use it kind of as a textbook, but as a native exercise of naturally picking up grammar. So we talked about grammar. You can naturally pick up grammar by reading. But let me explain more about why I think
Yeah.
reading.
So let me ask one question.
Sure.
So when it comes to reading, what content is the best? Like like a textbook with English and then described in Japanese, right? Or we should use 100% English book. So what is the
100% English.
okay, okay. If,
100.
for kids, 100% is much better.
Yeah, I would yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Like, so
Here's the
it's
idea.
really difficult, right? So sometimes I use like a do you know who is series, right? Who is Barack Obama? Do you know? This is a very popular book in the US.
Who
Who
is
who is this? What is it? You don't know? Okay.
No, I
So this
don't.
is for kids.
It's
But
for kids.
yeah, but I use this textbook. Of course, this is 100% English.
Uh-huh.
Because this is I think a New York Times bestseller book or something like that. And then
Uh-huh.
because learning people or which is famous in the US is good for us to communicate with American people, right? So same background, like
hmm
Key Robinson, who is Babe Ruth, who
hmm
is Walt Disney. So I book this like a biography for
hmm
kids, but even
hmm
this is for kids, but this is very informative, and then I learned the English phrase, a native English phrase.
Yes.
Right. So okay, please go ahead. Yeah.
I do recommend though that the book be targeted at the student's current level and maybe just a little bit higher than that. Now, if it's a brand new learner, particularly a child,
Mhm.
this is where you need a teacher who basically, reads to the child, maybe gets them to repeat the words that you've said, a minimal amount. But as you get older, you want to advance the level of books. I read Japanese books for the same reason. And no, I'm not bragging. Please don't take it that way. I do it as an exercise to learn, not because I'm completely able to enjoy everything, but I have a selection of children's books that are targeting elementary age, and I have some that target adults. For example, Kirawareru Yuki or Aisareru Yuki. I think that's the other one. And I get the audio version and the book version, and I read along and I listen, and I gradually find patterns in the expressions. I go, man, there tends to be this pattern that I hear over and over. Well, reading does that. But here's one more thing that I want to say about reading. And there are some people who really like to read, and there's some people who don't. I happen to be one of those people that does not like to read. It's not my favorite thing. So when I read, I have to force myself to read. But the reason why I think reading is good, in your, speaking to the audience here, in your native country, whether you be from a Spanish-speaking country or a Japanese, Japan, or wherever, think about someone in your community, a famous person perhaps, who is a very well-spoken person, someone that you love to hear them speak because they're so articulate. I guarantee you that person reads a number of books per year. People don't gain control of language just simply by watching YouTube. Reading is a tool that helps expand people's knowledge, but also their articulation and control of words and grammar. So that's one of the main reasons why I say reading is very valuable. You can always distinguish an educated person from someone who is not by the way they talk. And if they talk well, they probably read a lot.
I see. So in this case, is it okay to use like a Kindle?
Absolutely. I love Kindle. I have about 4 or 5 devices. I used to even recommend it to my students, and they would get a book. But I eventually stopped doing that because they weren't reading, and I didn't want to make them spend money on something if they really weren't going to devote themselves. So now it's kind of a student by student basis. If they say, yes, I'm interested in reading, you'd be amazed. Most of my students, I ask them, are you interested in reading together? Reading a real book. Most of them are like, no, I just want to come and just communicate and learn English. Like, okay, all right, we'll do it that way. That's fine. So yeah, I'm tickled to death. Yeah, when someone wants to.
Getting input from reading is very informative. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and also, so what do you think about like using Kindle? Do we use it as a Kindle for reading or like a listening? So they have like a audible as feature.
In fact, I have not used this particular feature, but I have read directly on their site. I think anyway, let me explain it. I haven't used the feature. You'll need to research on your own. But if you have the Kindle device and the Kindle book on the same device, you can't use the e-ink version. You have to use the tablet type of version. If you have that, and you have the audio version and the book version, as you read along, the audio will stop and start with you. So if you turn the page, the audio will stop and start with you. So you don't have to race with your fingers trying to catch up, which was a beautiful thing for learning. So I highly recommend, if you have the budget for it, to go look into a Kindle.
I see. Okay. So yeah, time is running over. Maybe let's wrap up. So you,
Okay.
in terms of learning English for us, it's first be hungry.
Be hungry.
Then when it comes to speaking, maybe speed, repetition, and feel.
Hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. Third one, the read, read, read.
Read, read, read. Read,
With
read, read.
English only.
English
Not
only.
yes. It's
Of course, from time to time, you're going to want to get some confirmation in Japanese or
yeah.
in your native language, but you
So yeah.
want to exercise your reading in that language only also.
Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe in the beginning we should read English with Japanese, but down the road, yeah, we should.
Exactly. Yeah. Try to
Okay.
increase it a little bit.
The last one is use Kindle. Is
Hmm.
better.
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. I think that's all for today. But do you want to say something?
I didn't really have anything prepared, but I am tickled to death to see so many faces out there in the audience. There's a lot of you, and I appreciate you taking the time, out of your Sunday to listen to this. There's a lot of faces out there that I recognize, and there's some new faces too. I'm eager to connect with you even after this, and if you have any questions or maybe a word that you heard during all this, put it down in the comments. I'd love to hear if there was anything that you got of value or a question or anything like that. That would tickle me to death.
Yep. And then also, yeah, any feedback is welcome. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To make sure, how we go through for next day.
Yes. If I speak too fast or too slow, let me know, because
Yeah.
I would. It's no good if I can't help you or serve you.
Mm, yeah. Thank you so much. And also, I think maybe we can cover everything for today. But
Okay.
do you have any topic which we would like to talk next time? Just send me any comment.
Okay.
Uh,
And based on what the audience says, maybe they will give us some ideas of what they would like to talk about next time or hear us talk about.
mhm, mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. And also, yeah, don't forget to follow Kyle. Yeah, so you real English, authentic.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be great. It would make my day if you did. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Okay,
All
okay,
right.
okay. Let's close. Okay. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.